Hello, everyone. I am the host this
Hello.
week. And welcome, Martina and Trent and Amanda.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on and
Thank
sharing
you
your
for
magical.
having us.
Yeah. I just wanted to do a little backstory because you two are so cute. And I remember you back in Andrew's shows. It was first when they were revealing, when they would show videos, and you two were on there, and it was very intense. It was a very intense show. And I remember you pulling stuff out of your throat, and I'm like, wow, does that resonate with me? I'm like, so, and also you're from my hometown, Pittsburgh, shout out. So I was just pumped at the connection. It was just like, damn, yes. And then you did the healing show, and it was just, that was amazing in itself too, and helped so many people, including myself. So I just wanted
Thank
to give
you.
that little history, and I wanted to have you guys on because you're just so cute.
Thank
I
you.
want to learn about astrology. So I thought I would start with maybe some people who don't know the signs of astrology, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it goes, the top is always Aries at the top of this of the zodiac circle, and it goes clockwise around, right?
Yes.
And Aries is a fire.
Mm-hmm.
And the sign is a lamb, or I always thought it was a ram, but
A ram.
Yes.
a ram. Okay. And it symbolizes rebirth and new beginning. So I can see why now it's at the top, starting new beginning.
Yes. It's at the beginning.
Okay.
Yes. So if you're looking at a chart, you would look to the left side and it would start right about in the middle of the left side, and then it goes around the circle. Okay, so Aries is known as the zodiacal new year. So it is very much about new beginnings. It's a very fiery energy, the energy of leadership and jumping into things and just being ready to go.
It's also at the beginning of the year. That's why it's in springtime, the actual new year. So that's why it starts as Aries. It's like
Okay.
new beginnings, like you said.
Yes,
Okay.
it's the infant of the zodiac.
Oh, the infant. Oh, yeah, the new. Okay. So then I thought, and then I saw the pattern when I was reading this, and it goes fire, earth, water, fire, earth, air, water, and then it repeats fire, air, fire, earth, air, water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then after Aries would be Taurus, which is the bull, and that's the earth
Right.
sign.
Yes.
Okay.
And so Taurus is a very fertile sign. It's about security and stability and also money, and it's about the foundation in your life. It's very sensual energy. Just like in the beginning of spring, you have Aries, and then things start growing and you get abundance. Things start to become very fertile. So that's the energy of Taurus.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I'm liking
Also
this.
ruled by Venus
Yes,
as
it can
well.
be very
Yes.
stubborn. It's a
Yeah.
fixed
Oh, yeah.
energy. So it can be very stubborn and stuck in its ways at times.
Yep.
But it is
I
about
did.
security and, stability,
Mhm.
laying a foundation and the groundwork for things ahead.
Okay, cool. All right. So then we're on to Gemini, which is
Mhm.
air, and that's the twins.
Yes.
And it says here, traditionally been presented in many different forms. I don't know what that means.
Gemini is about communication. It's ruled by Mercury, so it's all about speaking. It's all about speaking your truth, communicating.
It's a very flirty and flighty energy. It's a very social energy. You might think of it as like a social butterfly energy, moving around, connecting with other people. It's associated with the community that you live in. So, your everyday things that you do, going from place to place, that's Gemini energy.
Okay. And I forgot to give the birthday, the months, but this one is May 21st to June 21st.
Yes.
Yeah. The next one is Cancer, which is water, and the crab. It says here, each year the sun moves through the Cancer phase between roughly June 22nd and July 22nd.
Yes.
And yeah, it says it's a lobster. It could be a lobster too, or a crawfish, but tell us about Cancer and water.
So Cancer is ruled by the moon. So it's a very emotional sign. and it represents the home life.
Yes.
Mm.
It's a very deep, intuitive, motherly energy. The moon, it represents the mother in the chart. So Cancer is very nurturing. It's also deeply emotional and changeable in its mood. So Cancer energy can go very quickly from one feeling to the next. It's a very deep energy. It's associated with past lives and ancestral lineages and stuff like that. So it's taking you deep. It's taking you into your core.
Okay, so question before we go, we're going to start back to fire. All of these symbols, all of these zodiacs can be in our chart, or are they
Yes.
all in our chart? Okay,
Yes, everyone has everything.
everyone has everything.
It's just, yeah, because the actual chart itself has a cusp in each sign. So everyone has that energy embodied within them. It's just, some of the focuses are more intense than others.
Yeah, like some
Okay.
houses will have more planets than others. Some houses can have no planets, but they do all have an influence.
Yeah, the underlying energy.
Oh, yeah, which is what I want to get into, the houses. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so the next one is Leo, represented by the lion, July 23rd to August 22nd, and that's fire.
Yes.
So
Yes,
fire, Aries, and fire. Aries
Mhm.
and Leo. Okay.
so Leo is a very creative energy. It's a very expressive energy. It being ruled by the sun, it's about ego. It's about, personality, who you are, how you express.
Yes, it can has a lot to do with your pride. It also has a lot to do with what you deem as fun, your hobbies, the things that make you happy and joyful. It rules children in the chart as well. So it's a very youthful energy, a very fun, creative, expressive energy.
Oh, okay. I love that. Okay. Next one is Virgo, which is Earth. Virgo is represented by a woman, the maiden.
Mhm.
And it says here the Virgo considered to be Astrea, a virgin who represented of justice, innocence, purity, and precision.
Yes.
And she's August 22nd to September 23rd.
Mhm.
Okay.
So Virgo is also ruled by Mercury, but unlike Gemini being kind of information all over the place, Virgo is more of direct
Yeah,
information.
precision.
Precision and one set of skills. It's also about routines. It's about your daily practices. It's about health.
Nutrition. It's about the daily work that you do, whether it's in your routine or actually at your job. It rules employees. So it's a very precise energy. Some people can say that Virgos come off as, very critical, but it's not that. They're just going to speak their mind and they're going to speak truth.
And it doesn't
Okay.
always come
Thank
off
you.
as soft.
Thank you. 'Cause I'm a Virgo. Thank you for that.
Yes,
People
Prince of Virgo
misunderstand me.
rising.
The information that we give, it's because we care. We're not trying to judge you. We're trying to help you.
Yes.
I get misunderstood.
It happens.
Okay.
It does.
It does. All right. So Libra is air,
Mhm.
and that's a scale. It seems like scales of justice.
Yes.
It says it's strongly associated with both Venus and Astrea, which is Virgo.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they're bringing these other archetypes in. You
Yeah.
do have archetypes in the chart and asteroids in the charts. Now, different, modes of astrology have different beliefs about the rulers and everything like that. But usually, to keep it simple, we'll just use the planet that it's ruled
Okay.
by. So Libra is ruled by Venus. It's about connection. It's about communication. It rules commitment. It rules marriages. It rules justice. It rules contracts. The daily relationships that you have with other people.
And it's a lot about balance too,
Mhm.
bringing balance to things, bringing justice to things, seeing, the right and wrong in things.
Yeah,
So it's about balance.
sometimes people can feel that Libras are passive aggressive, but they are so much about harmony and keeping the peace that sometimes they will hold back and not speak their mind. And this Libra is the opposite of Aries. So Aries will speak their mind and possibly say whatever they feel, whatever they mean, whereas Libra will hold back and think about things because she is an air sign before she says it.
Wow. Wow. This is
And sometimes that
interesting.
energy can lead to people pleasing as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Scorpio, water, which is a scorpion.
Mhm.
So yeah. So it doesn't say, well, I won't go into the mythologies about it, but it has its own constellation.
Yeah,
Directly named after.
Scorpio is a very deep and transformative energy. It's said to be ruled by Pluto. In traditional astrology, it's ruled by Mars. So it's a very intense energy. It's about transformation. It's about digging deep, things that are under the surface, things that are taboo. It's also a very intimate energy. It has a lot to do with intimate connections. It's about death and rebirth.
Yeah, I mean, you basically said it.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
very intense energy. It's deeply emotional, deeply intuitive. It's like, I think of Scorpio as the natural bullshit detector because it can see through the facade into what's really going on under the surface.
Whoa. Okay. I get all these people in my mind, like, okay,
Mhm.
that I know their birthday, my whole family. So, okay, Sagittarius is fire,
Mhm.
and it's an archer. Yeah. And everything else it's November 22nd to December 21st, winter solstice.
Yes.
So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of wisdom. So it's also about traveling, it's about expansion, it's about knowledge.
Yeah, spiritual knowledge. It's so much about expanding consciousness. Jupiter, it's ruled by Jupiter in the chart, and Jupiter is seen as the spiritual teacher, the spiritual leader in the chart. So Sagittariuses are known to be very philosophical and have this innate inner wisdom about them that they love to share. And they're also very adventurous. They like to get out and go out into the world and experience life.
They love to play
Mhm.
and explore and have fun and be wild.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Okay, so Capricorn, earth sign, is a goat.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Capricorn is about their business. Like they will get stuff done. Like they are very business oriented and they're like the daddy of the zodiac sign. They're like the boss.
Yes, they are feminine energy, but many do see that energy as like a daddy like energy, but it's also like a grandmother energy, a deep, deep wisdom, a deep inner knowing. But Capricorn is so much about legacy and creating something. So you're building from your foundation and you're creating something lasting. Very hard workers. They can be a little too serious at times. They can come off as a little judgmental at times, but really they're just all about business.
All about
Yeah,
business.
Capricorn is when
Yeah.
the sun moves into the Capricorn, that is actually the winter solstice.
Okay. Okay. And then two more we have is air, Aquarius, which is air. It's a water barrier.
Yes, the water bearer. And actually,
There.
Aquarius is not a water sign. That's a popular misconception about Aquarius. It's an air sign, as you
Oh,
just said.
air.
But
Did I say water?
no,
Did
no,
I
you
say water?
didn't. I was just saying in
Oh,
general, because of the water bearer symbolism, many people confuse Aquarius as being a water sign, which is not. It's an air sign. Um, I always consider Aquarius to be a very multi-dimensional energy. It's about awakening and revelation and genius. It's an energy of, the collective, humanity itself. So Aquariuses are very friendly. They love to connect with people. They're often leaders of groups of people. They're very into networking and creating situations where people can come together.
Yes, they love to talk and they have the ability to see higher perspectives and multiple perspectives on different situations.
Right. They can sometimes be emotionally detached, actually. And that's probably why the lady is pouring the water out, because they're not very aligned with their emotions. It can be difficult for them to express in that way. They're more in the mind. It's traditionally ruled by Saturn, but in Western astrology, it's ruled by Uranus, the planet Uranus.
Okay. And the last one, so we're coming full circle, is Pisces, which is water, which is the pair of two fish.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Wait, they swim
Pisces,
in they said it says it's swimming in different directions.
yeah.
No.
So Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So, sometimes they can be delusional, sometimes they can be very intuitive. That's why you have the two fishes. Like sometimes it's illusions and sometimes it's just straight
You tapping
knowingness.
in, yes.
So
Oh.
it's the end of the zodiac sign. So that represents completion.
Yes, Pisces embodies all of the energies in the chart. So oftentimes they're seen as an old soul. They have a very close connection to the higher realms, the astral realms, often extremely intuitive and able to connect to those things. And sometimes, like Trent said, it can be a delusional energy, like rose-colored glasses, seeing what you want to see rather than what's really there, because it is opposite of Virgo. And Virgo is about truth and really getting to the center of things and having an intellectual understanding, whereas Pisces is more of an intuitive understanding. Pisces need to put up really strong energetic and spiritual boundaries, because they'll take everything on if they don't, because they feel everything. Very, very strong empaths. Oftentimes they're very psychic.
Yeah, and without
Wow.
these strong boundaries and borders, they'll find themselves tapping into energies from everywhere, and it can cause confusion.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know whether it's your energy, whether it's their energy, and that's why these boundaries are so important for Pisces, because they do tap into energy so easily.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was, I love it. I love the history of it. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody on here? Or we'll move on. Okay, so I just have a question. So each of us can, well, just talk about me, but we can all each have a little part of these signs in our chart, or because you do a chart, but okay, so we can have all of these, because I felt a lot of everything.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So you have a chart and there's 12 houses, and each house represents how the energy plays out within the chart. And each house is ruled by a sign and a planet. So everyone has every planet in their chart, and every planet is placed. Some people have a lot of planets in one sign, some people have a lot of planets in different signs, and then these planets are connected to other planets, bringing more depth to that energy. Okay, and that's how the chart works, is that you have all of these different planets and signs, different energies that are embodied within you, and then they operate together in different ways, which makes up your personality, which makes up your blueprint of who you are and what you're doing in this incarnation.
And the different aspects between each planet and each house tell you whether it's going to be a challenge for you. It tells you whether it's going to flow naturally to you.
Oh, okay. And I'm going to go on to something. I wanted to do something else too, like 23 things we didn't know about astrology. I won't do all 23, but I wanted your opinion on the statement that I say, so that, I'm like, oh, let's see what you have. So do we have more than one sign?
Yes.
Okay.
So
And
we have a sun, moon, rising sign, and then we have a sign in each one of the planets.
So Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto are all placed in different places, whether it's a different sign or a different house in your chart.
Basically, astrology is where the planets are aligned in the sky whenever you're born in a certain area at a certain time.
Right. That's why the birth time is so important when you're doing a chart, because the birth time makes up the entire chart. It's what shows where the rising sign is in the chart,
which rules the whole chart.
Right.
okay.
It's the underlying map so to speak, of the chart, and it shows how everything operates on that base level. And then, the planets and the aspects and everything are just layers upon layers of energy that create the way that the chart plays out for the person.
Okay. Okay, Sean has a question.
The bib
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah, hey guys.
Hi,
Good
Sean.
to be on here.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Just so like the earth, water, fire, and air, do they have directions appointed to them?
No, they do not. They're just base elements that describe the energy of the sign or planet itself.
Okay. Thanks.
What were-
This is
what were you-
cool. There's a
What
lot
were you
for me to
thinking,
learn.
Sean? What were you thinking about directions?
Oh, I just in my Chinese medicine,
Yeah.
I'm learning also about the 4 elements versus 5. They're extremely similar. Because they always have directions.
Right.
And it's just
Okay.
interesting. I always think of everything like seeds and what time of the year they grow. And just like how you're saying about like Capricorn, it's kind of like the get her done energy.
Mhm.
It's like neat. It's kind of that time. It's like spring's coming up soon. So get your shit together before
Right.
it's time to go
Before
up. So
it's
I'm just
time to
trying
take
to,
action.
yeah. So I'm just trying to think about I always think about the direction.
Yeah.
There
I love
are
that.
directions in the chart, but in a different way. You can have a day chart or a night chart. If you have a lot of planets above the rising sign, that's considered a day chart. If you have a lot of planets below the rising sign, that's considered a night chart. So, in that way, but not as far as, the elements in the signs.
Cool. Okay. Thank you guys.
Oh,
Welcome.
thanks, Sean. Okay, so another thing here is your moon sign is the sign that speaks to your emotions.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
The moon sign makes up the core of who you are on a soul level, on an emotional level. So this is a part of yourself you're probably not going to show people unless you feel very comfortable with that person. So you may not, be able to tell someone's moon sign right off the bat. That's kind of the part of themselves that they keep more private unless they feel comfortable.
Yeah, the sun sign is pretty much what you see the most because it's the ego, it's the
Your
creation,
personality.
and also the rising sign. The rising sign is usually how you come off to people
Mhm.
who don't know you on these intimate levels because the
Okay.
rising sign rules the chart.
Yeah, it's how people see you as presenting yourself. That's the rising sign. And the sun is more your ego and your personality. You can even say the sun is your spirit when you're fully embodied and you're operating from, a high frequency level. When you're operating at a low frequency, it would be more of an ego.
Whoa, interesting. Okay. And okay, so your rising or ascendant sign represents identity. Oh, maybe you just said this, the first impression you make on others and your outer
Mhm.
personality. You just said it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, your sun sign is what motivates you from the heart and deep within.
Mhm. Yes, like I said, your spirit.
Okay.
It's who you are on a core level, but not emotionally. It's just your personality and how you express.
Okay. What if you're born between signs on the cusp?
I usually don't take cusps into account because every sign has a degree 0 to 29 degrees. So if a planet lands on a degree, that's the degree it's at. It's not on both degrees. So say a planet lands at 29 Aries, it's not in Taurus, it's at 29 Aries. So 29 in the chart is like a master number. So say you have a planet at 29 Aries, you're mastering that part of your chart and you're mastering the Aries energy. Many times people will have planets in both Aries and Taurus because they're next to each other. So if you're feeling a cusp energy, usually that's why, because you have planets in both signs.
Ooh, okay. I love
Also,
that.
0 degrees of a sign is known as the most purest energy of that sign. So if you have something at 0 degrees Taurus, you're going to be very Taurus, very pure in the way that you express that energy.
Okay, so the degree, oh, here's another one. The degrees of a sign don't mean what you think it does. That's what you just said. Because, well, maybe not. Does it? They're saying here,
It
the
depends on what
degrees
they
do,
think it means.
yeah, let's see. Let's see what it means. However, the degrees do not indicate the strength or power of the sign. Yes, no.
They can, usually when you have a higher degree, you are more apt to that energy. You are more comfortable with that energy. So say in one lifetime, you have a planet at, 2 degrees Taurus, you may come back the next lifetime and have it at a further degree because you're mastering that energy as you go.
Oh, I love this. Let me just insert a question. Hold on.
Mhm.
What was I just gonna say? So you come back, when you said you come back, oh shoot, I lost my thought. Darn, go ahead, Sean. It'll come back.
Okay, it will come back. Is there a setting sign?
A setting sign? No. There's a
Is it-
rising sign. I guess you could consider the other side of the rising sign, the setting sign, which is the descendant. So your rising sign is how other people perceive you. The other side is the descendant, which is more the relationships that you attract, and can also be seen as your shadow side that you don't directly see about yourself. You got to dive a little deeper and look at those aspects of yourself. So I guess that could be considered a setting sign, but I've never heard it called that.
It's basically you on like an intimate level.
It's the things about
Yeah.
yourself that you're learning to kind of integrate that you don't really see blatantly, and like, like your shadow side. You don't see these things blatantly about yourself, and maybe you don't like to look at them, but this will show you why you kind of attract certain energies into your life so that you can learn those parts of yourself.
I like a lot of this because it's got so many analogies to Chinese medicine,
Yeah.
in it just in a different way. Because like looking at like sun sign, moon sign, you have yang and yin, and then you have
Right.
like a rising sign. So my brain naturally looks for its opposite, the setting
Right.
sign. And then it, like in
Yes.
Chinese medicine, we have like a yang walking vessel and a yin walking vessel. And one's like the way you see the world, and the other one's the way that you see yourself. So it's kind of like
Right.
the in and the out. And I see a lot of parallels between that.
For sure.
Yeah. And there's
Wow.
always an opposite when it comes to the signs. The sign always has an opposite sign. Like you said, the rising has the opposite, which is the descendant. So it's all about finding the balance within those signs and within those energies.
And the signs also have like unevolved aspects of them and evolved aspects of them. Like
Yeah.
Pisces, for example, unevolved is very delusional. The evolved side is very intuitive. So it's about balancing the two, because you don't want to be too deluded and you don't want to be too intuitive. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And when you said about the setting part of it, does that mean to like the end of the house, like the end of its degrees kind of thing?
And it doesn't really have anything to do with the degrees. It's just where it lands in your chart. It's always going to be exactly the opposite of the ascendant sign. So if your ascendant's at 28
I
degrees,
see.
the descendant's going to be at 28 degrees as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Whoa.
welcome.
Wow, I love that analogy, Sean, how you're doing that. Okay, my question I remembered. Okay, so I did have my chart done and I actually found it. I remember I was talking to you guys and I'm like, I don't know where it is. So I had it done. I just wanted to ask you the question. I had it done in 2014, but I didn't have my birthday because my birth time because I didn't know it, but I did really guess it within 11 minutes. I guessed it. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I did. So does that,
Mhm.
should I have it done again? Or can we charts over and over? Or is one
Yes,
one and done? Okay.
absolutely.
The
You can
change, does it
every
change?
time. The way that I read personally is very intuitive, and whatever spirit needs you to know at that time, that's what's going to come up. You can get the same reading 4 times and get 4 different layers of information coming through.
Now there are also
Oh.
transits too that go around the house in form of time, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so transits are when what the planets are doing now in this moment, how they're operating now, how they connect to your chart. So that's going to bring another layer of energy to what your chart and your energies are doing at this time.
Okay, does it have anything to do with the day that you're having your chart done too? Where the
It
planets are
can
aligned?
many times. when I look at a client's chart, the planets will be aligned with the North Node usually, which is destiny, or, you know, their sun sign or their moon sign, if they're trying to dig more deeply into their emotional stuff. So yes, you know, that happens a lot.
Okay.
And each planet moves differently because they all spin at different speeds. So, you know, Pluto takes a really long time to move through, opposed to the moon, which moves through, you know,
Every
30,
2.5 days. Yeah.
yeah, 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every 2.5 days, you know, you'll have the moon in Aries for 2.5 days, and we'll move into Taurus for 2.5 days. And that's the cycle of the moon.
Ooh, oh, that's cool. Okay, so another question or statement is Mercury retrograde does not actually mean the planets move back.
No, it's that's just the feeling of it. When Mercury is in retrograde, there's a very introspective feeling to that planet. So it's not technically moving backward, it's actually moving more quickly forward. But there's a feeling of a shift into within, a shift within.
So whenever
Okay.
Mercury is not in retrograde, it's about communicating outwardly.
Right.
Whenever it is in retrograde, you want to reflect on how you're speaking to yourself, opposed to how you're speaking to other people. It's about introspection,
Exactly.
it being the planet of
Oh.
communication.
Oh, okay. So then so is Mercury the only planet in retrograde periods?
They can all go in retrograde.
All
Okay.
but the sun and the moon.
All but the sun and the moon. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Let me see. I think this. Yeah, you need to know the birth time is important. It says something about the accuracy of it.
Yeah,
Um,
it is very important. You can still get a reading if you don't have it. There's also a way you can rectify your birth time if you don't know it. You can work with an astrologer to kind of uncover that by lining up certain events in your life. So, but it is very important to understand the depths of the chart.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to have mine done again. Okay, Sean.
Okay, guys, I just want to stump you for a moment because I don't know this either. But Andrew was talking about a bit like Earth going into retrograde. And I was wondering, like, so what are the energies of Earth? Like, just like all those other planets. And what will be the opposite?
Okay, so Earth really isn't considered in the chart because we are on the planet, but Earth energy just, you know, would be Earth energy itself, very grounded, you know, in reality, very abundant and nurturing. I don't think there's really an opposite to the Earth. It's more of just where we're at. You know, we live here, we're on this planet. So that's why the chart is based off of the Earth being the center point.
Hmm.
I think what I remember from the discussions at the time, it was more like Earth retrograde was impacted on the other planets. So it was taking a slightly different view on that, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it would probably mean, you know, people on the planet or the energy of the planet itself was going into a phase of introspection, which would have an effect on the other planets.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it has to do with frequencies rising.
Awakening as a collective kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, have you ever done a chart? And I was just thinking about this, like, have you ever done a chart with twins, triplets? Like they're born within, and even if they're born vaginally or cesarean, they're born at like seconds or minutes later. Does that,
Right. It
and even
depends.
though they're identical, yeah.
So it's nature versus nurture situation. It just depends on how they perceive the world and perceive what's going on. That's going to create the differences in those people. So that's why when you have someone that's born pretty much at the exact same time, they still are different in their energy because, you know, it's how they perceived, how they were raised or what they've been through.
And also you could have three different, you know, three completely different souls come in to a lineage that are from other areas that turn out three completely different people.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, I never thought of it that way, Trent. So before we reveal, ta-da, Ian, Hub, and Martina, what influenced you as a child? Did you always was into astrology? What influenced you to go this path into this way?
So for me, I just always had a very close connection to the stars and to nature. I remember being a very small child and just looking up at the stars and being like completely intrigued with the stars and outer space and the planets. And as I got a little older, probably preteen age, 11 or 12, I started reading my horoscopes every day. And,
Mhm.
over time, I realized, oh, there's more than a sun. I can read from my moon. I can read from my rising. At first, I only thought there was a sun and a moon and a rising sign. And as I went deeper into it, it was just kind of like I was led this way because I went to college for psychology. That's what I was going to do. And Spirit was like, oh, no, this is where you're going. Personally, to me, it's so much deeper. And there's so much depth to it, there's so much more meaning to it, and it's so much more accurate because it's tailored specifically to you and your personality and your energetic blueprint. But I've always just really felt called to the stars and to astrology itself, and it just kind of unfolded that way for me.
Wow. Well,
So
you
for
try.
me, it wasn't about astrology when I was younger. It was about rebelling against what they told us was right. I knew was wrong at a core level. So, that basically made me study different subjects and learn about them for myself, whether it be spirituality, math, whatever it may be. And it wasn't until I got with Amanda, we started talking, that I started to get into astrology. She read my chart and she's like, you're supposed to have a business from home. You're supposed to do something creative. Well, I ended up quitting my job. I was making almost $20 an hour because of basically based off a chart that she read for me. Well, it wasn't much longer after we started a business from home. I was making art. I started selling art. Like everything that she predicted from reading my birth chart started to happen. And I'm like, holy shit. Like this stuff is real. Like literally we have a business from home. Like, we sell art, we make stuff, like everything that she said, like is like happening and it's like playing out. So it's real. Like I'm a
Yeah.
believer.
I was just going to ask you about your little shop because I read your mission statement and there's something that really, if you can go into more depth, is that you said astrology allows us to see into the depths of our true being with no filters.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yes.
So just by
Absolutely.
you reading that, like Trent, he paid attention and kind of like said, okay, this is what my chart says. It's a lot
Right.
of trust and a lot of faith.
Yeah.
So astrology without filters is basically not seeing things in a polarized view. It's basically like a tangible form of the Akashic record. Like instead of
Mhm.
reading it intuitively, it's like, you're
Right.
reading it out of a book.
You're reading it out of the chart.
And if you're
Yeah.
reading it from a neutral view, you're able to deliver that information to whoever's receiving it, without it being good or bad, or this is just the information.
Right.
Right.
So it is your energetic blueprint. So if you're looking into the chart, you can see your karma from past lifetimes, what you're clearing this lifetime. You can see, the challenges that you're going to face, what you can see your own shadow self and what you need to work on and heal. You can see your skills, your talents, your abilities, what your purpose is, where you should best focus your energy in order to align with your purpose and to align with that feeling of inner peace and contentment within yourself.
Wow. That's I never really thought of it that way. And that's so beautiful because I just thought of it as something, you get your chart done. I never
Oh
thought
yeah,
about, yeah,
it's deep.
it's
It,
deep. It's
it
deep.
really is like a tangible personal Akashic record,
Yeah.
is like how
Yeah.
I would describe it.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way you said that. And then you said something, we must know, accept, and love ourselves fully and authentically within before we are able to attract these abundant and joyful energies to us within our external lives, through our careers, our relationships, and even our daily routine. So then I thought, otherwise, if we don't like, your statement. Otherwise, it's autopilot. It feels like
Right.
you're just on autopilot and you're just doing it because, you know, this is what
Right.
I'm supposed to do. Instead of like,
Exactly.
yeah, okay.
It
Yeah, I just
helps
love
you
that.
kind of find the meaning in life. Like, you know, many people are like, you know, like Andrew always says, you know, everyone's always asking, what is my purpose? What is my
Yeah.
purpose? Well, you know, that's what you come to me for. I'm going to tell you what your purpose is and how to get there. You know, I can show you what's holding you back. I can show you, you know, where to focus your energy so that you can align with, you know, where you're going and how to move forward. I can show you where you need to clear, you know, energy or karma or anything like that.
Or why you're doing it in the
Yeah,
first
why
place.
you're doing it in the first place. So it brings so much more meaning into your life, and you know, it helps you to kind of figure out, where am I headed, what am I supposed to be doing, and how do I get there.
Yeah, because
Wow.
sometimes, you know, it's hard to know where you're going or what you're doing
Mhm.
if you don't know where you're going or what you're doing.
Right.
You know,
Well,
so being
because
able to
yeah,
see it and hear about it gives you that direction. It gives you understanding so you know what to do.
because sometimes we can trick ourselves into
Mhm.
thinking we're going oh yeah, I'm supposed to go that way. I just feel it.
Right.
I don't, yeah,
When really,
it's,
like you said, we're on autopilot.
we're on
Yeah,
autopilot.
that's what the north node and south node is. In the chart, the south node is where you're comfortable. It's where you came from, you know, your past life, what you already know, what energies you already embody. And so some people will stay stuck in that south node energy when you're really supposed to be working towards your north node, which are new experiences.
Oftentimes things that
Yes.
you're uncomfortable with doing, which is your purpose.
Exactly.
And you find that once you start doing it, you become really good at it.
Mhm.
Yes. Wow. Oh, thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions before we do the big reveal?
Yeah, could you say a little bit more about the north node and south node?
Yeah, so the north node and south node are the nodes of the moon, and basically the south node is your karma. It's like you, from the south node, you can read your past lives. You can read into the energies that kind of keep you stagnated. They're energies that you're really comfortable with and that you're really good at. But if you stay stuck in those energies, you do not feel fulfilled, because you are not trying new things. You are not moving forward. You're kind of staying stuck in the past. So the north node is more about, you know, where you're headed, what you don't know yet, or what you're not good at yet. But when you really start to work with those energies, all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like I love this. I'm good at this. So it's kind of that energy where you have to face your fears head on in order to kind of embrace that energy, but it's going to bring so much more meaning and fulfillment into your life when you do so.
So South Node is more like doing what you know, but not necessarily feeling fulfilled. North Node is about doing what you do not know, but suddenly you become fulfilled and it brings excitement in your life, diving into the unknown.
Right. Like for me, for example, my north node is, I'm sorry, my south node is in the fourth house. So fourth house is family. It's, you know, children, it's being a mother, all of these things that I'm already great at. I already know how to do this.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's in Libra's house. So this is, you know, energy of relationships and connections, you know, kind of just going with the flow. Whereas my north node is in Aries in the 10th house. So what I'm working toward is building a legacy for myself, building a business for myself, stepping into kind of a leader energy, self-mastery, making things happen, putting myself out there.
And
So these are
yourself
things
first.
that, you know, I kind of had to push myself to do. Yes, absolutely, putting myself first, that I had to push myself to do. But once I did it, my whole life changed.
I see. So
Wow.
it's kind of just wherever your moon's placed, and then you look at the north and south aspects of it.
You don't even have to know where the moon's placed. The chart will exactly show you the north and south node itself, but they are nodes of the moon. So the way they work is that they're basically shadows of the moon, and they show you where you're coming from and where you're going.
Very cool. Thanks.
Wow, that is there. I love this. I love
Me
this.
too.
I love the fact that I never heard about the karma thing. You know, seeing it and knowing that you can change that.
Well, there's
Whew.
many different ways that you can approach astrology, and I kind of approach it in a very intuitive way. So I'm reading the charts intuitively, and I'm helping people to kind of step out of, where they've been, and kind of move towards where they're going, to clear out the karma, to clear out all of those soul contracts that are no longer useful to them, so that they can step into their purpose and step into their future.
Because ultimately that's what we're here to do, clear all the karma and step into the now, get out of the mundane and step into the mastery and fulfillment of life, enjoyment of life, the co-creation of life.
Yeah. Love it. Let's do it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do drum roll, please. Let's hear about, oh wait, first, before EN Hub. Yeah. So have you done businesses before? Because you said something about.
I've done businesses, but not for a client. So I've, read charts for myself before, and, for friends, but I've never done it for a client. But this is really cool. Like, I think Martina's really going to love this.
Oh, yay. Let's go.
Okay.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
You're doing the Earth Nouveau Hub, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt. This is our group and where we're gonna go. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is the business itself, the group itself, where it's headed, how you can best utilize those energies. So what I did first was read the chart for the business itself. And then after that, I brought in your energy compared to the business's energy. And then after that, if we have time, I can read a little bit about your personal chart if you feel called to do that.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to pull the chart up, and I'm basically just going to read here off the notes. If anything else comes up, I'll just bring that through. So what came up first and very strongly is that this business is a soul contract for Martina to bring people together. So this is Juno on the ascendant of the chart. Juno is a goddess asteroid. So if you don't understand something that I'm saying, just ignore it, because I'm going deeper than just the planets. But it's also connected to Martina's south node in her chart, which says to me that this is something Martina planned to help her to clear past life karma, to clear past life contracts, and to help her step into her power. At its core, the energy of Earth Nouveau holds very deep motherly wisdom, and also support and guidance for self-mastery. So at the core of Earth Nouveau, it's very nurturing energy, deeply wise, and it's helping people to step into their self-mastery journey. That is because the business's moon and Saturn are right on the IC of the chart, right on the bottom of the chart. Now, I don't know if it's easier if I just say this, or do you want me to bring the planets into it as well? I don't know if that's more confusing.
No, bring them in.
Okay. Okay. Also came up is the vibe is very nurturing. It's spiritual. It's creative. It's fun, because of the sun in the chart is in Pisces in the 5th house of creativity. Okay, so you're bringing fun out. You're making spiritual growth fun and creative. You're bringing more creative into the world through this business. It also provides deep transformation of the mind. Okay, so the people that you're sharing connections with are having their minds transformed on a deep level. It can be a little intense at times. It can be a little challenging at times, but it's deeply life-changing. This is because Pluto in the 3rd house is squaring the ascendant of the chart. It promotes the energy of death and rebirth. That's what the business does. So we have the moon conjunct Ceres in Aquarius. So the business is built to nurture humanity and to make people feel at home in that energy. Mercury is retrograde in the chart, actually, and it's in the same house as Neptune in the 5th house, both in Pisces. So we're expressing the spiritual in creative ways, and this promotes self-introspection for healing on a subconscious level. Okay. We have the Aqua Aquarius moon conjunct the IC, which is the bottom of the chart. So we're doing an emotional deep dive but we're doing it from a sacred neutral perspective. Because the energy is in Aquarius, it helps us to detach from the emotions a little bit and kind of, see things from a higher perspective. Yes, it's a beautiful thing. We have the sun sextile Mars in the South Node. So the business is driven towards nurturing spiritual perspectives. And it's also triggering a deep remembrance of our ancestors, of our past lives and our past selves, and other gifts and abilities that we have from past lives. This is because the sun is sextile to Mars, which is conjunct the South Node, like I talked about earlier. So we're bringing, the business is bringing in this remembrance of past lives and past selves and connections to the ancestors. We also have the sun sextile to Uranus. So this is providing humanity a higher perspective. It's a multi-dimensional expression. The moon is also squaring Uranus. So what's happening is the business is helping to trigger or bring up programming that supports in breaking through the programming on a core level. Okay, so naturally the business is helping people to break through their core programming. It is challenging energy, but it does help people to break through stagnancy and blockages that they're carrying. Self-mastery is huge here. We have the moon conjunct Saturn, and we also have Pluto squaring the AC. So this is transformation into higher versions of self. The business also promotes empowerment and shadow acceptance so that the people watching can embrace their healing gifts and abilities. This is Chiron in the 6th house conjunct an asteroid Lilith. Okay, so Lilith is empowerment and Chiron is either your deepest wound, but it's also your healing abilities. So once you kind of go into your deepest wound, then you can start to really embrace your own healing abilities. That's what Chiron is about. Also, we have the part of fortune, which is a place in the chart which shows where we're happiest, where we're the most comfortable. So the part of fortune is opposing another asteroid called Vesta in the 8th house. So light brings income. Okay, sorry, I read the wrong thing. Devotion to bringing the unseen and unknown to light brings income into the business. So the more that you reveal, the more that it supports bringing in income. This means presenting taboo topics, shadow work, learning deeper about intimacy will help to forward Earth Nouveau as a business. The 2nd house ruler of it's in Scorpio and the ruler is Pluto. So this is saying the same thing. The more you dive deep, the more that you're going to be able to bring out of the business.
Oh, love it.
You
Love
want
it.
to say anything, Martina?
I know. There's so much.
God, I'm just so, now I know why I was so bloody excited, in the beginning. I mean, I'm so grateful. This is just, if anyone has ever watched any of our shows, right? This is everything you've said is spot on.
Yep.
Spot on. And really, really asserting the path for us to continue. And I really like, you said, going deeper. And I'm hearing Pluto, go into the underworld, go deep, go intense, and allow yourself to do that, because that is what the business is all about, right?
Yes.
I'm loving it. Thank you so much, guys.
Oh,
You're welcome. And if you want to say anything, just interrupt me. There's so much information and I'm just trying to get it all out so we have time for it.
wait,
So-
Amanda, can you tell me what the deep dive topics were? Taboo, shadow work.
Yes, things that are taboo that people don't usually talk about. It could be shadow work, things that are unseen. It can be shadow integration. It can be sex. It can be intimacy, topics like that.
Anything transformational.
Yeah, anything that, is coming from a place of death and rebirth.
It's funny. I was feeling that. Okay, go ahead.
Isn't that what we normally do, right? These are our topics and we dive right deep into this.
We got to go deeper, deep.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
that's now, but I really do think, and guys, you might, Trent and Amanda, you might be able to, sort of confirm that. The time has to be right for that kind of thing as well. You know?
Right.
And, you know, if I look the way we have progressed in the last 3 years, in the beginning, it was all about self-mastery, but now it's going in a completely different, more intuitive soul consciousness.
Yes.
And shadow work, we've done so much, but it's a different kind of shadow that's now coming in for us to explore.
Right.
Did you say something about the North Node, which I have not heard?
So there's a lot going on with the North Node itself and connected to your chart. So I'm going to get into that more. But this is definitely, you were fated to run this. I mean, this is something that you chose to do, that you came here to do. It was always meant to kind of fall in your hands, and it's helping you to step into your purpose as well.
Cool.
Which I'll say a little bit more, but I think Trent wants to say something.
Yeah, I have less notes than her, so let me get through some. All right, so you have Juno in the first, and that's on the ascendant. It's opposing Eris, which is on the descendant in the ninth house. So there's a strong drive to build a relationship of the business and personal relationships such as friends. But because they require so much attention, your personal relationships and your business relationships, it can be difficult to balance both of those. So sometimes you might have, trouble whether, I'm going to invest in the business or invest in friends. And I think a lot of that goes into the business, which is where you make your friends. So we have Eris in the seventh. It's squaring Pluto in the third. So like I said, a lot of the friends that you do have will come from you communicating. It'll come from you speaking your truth. These will be relationships that will transform both you and the people that you're speaking to. And a lot of these will be soul contracts. A lot of these will be people that you've known in a past life that have come here for this transformation that you'll be offering them. So you have a part of fortune in the second, and it's opposing Vesta in the eighth. So there's a strong devotion to talking about transformation, to talking about death and rebirth, and like Amanda said, taboo topics. And this will bring more income to your business whenever you do talk about these topics. You're happiest when you can speak freely about these things. And when you do, it not only builds the value of you, it builds the value of the business. And what that does is it creates foundation and structure for the business. So you have Mars in the third, it's sextile Sun in the fourth. So you have a strong drive to communicate. And when you do, it builds the reputation and personality of the business. And like I said, that also creates stability and structure in your business. You have a South Node in the third, which is trining Uranus in the seventh. You're good at communicating. You're good at communicating because you've done it in a past life. You've done it in previous lifetimes. So talking about multidimensional things, it comes natural to you. You've done this before. So you have Pallas in the third, sextiling Mercury in the fifth. There are patterns in the way the business communicates with its audience, but it's creative enough to bring fresh ideas that keep people interested. And it's enough to keep people coming back to watching your shows. You have Jupiter in the third, squaring Venus in the sixth. As the business continues to expand, which the business will continue to expand, it will require more routine and more structure that will make it challenging for your personal everyday routines that you'll be creating for yourself.
Yeah, so that's very much about finding balance between, the business and your personal life as well.
Okay, can I also assume, since we're talking about, the chart of we call it a business, and the way I would look at, business is usually associated to some sort of money, finances, which we're not necessarily, accumulating at this stage. But what I think, if we are all, because, this is not just income for me, this is income for every single one that comes on to this show. So every single one that is linked to that show, to Earth Nouveau, to that business, which we haven't really considered it a business before. I certainly haven't. We must all start putting our focus forward towards that. you know, as you're coming on. And this is why I always, you know, say to people, come forward with what you do, host like Amy does today, because this is showing your business to everyone else. So just
Right.
Exactly. What you're doing is building yourself, and as you build yourself, it's building the business, and you're networking with people, and you're getting your name out there, you're getting other people's name out there, and that will come back to you in the form of financial success, reputation, transformation.
Yes, absolutely. The the part of fortune of the business is in the second house, which is money. So you can find happiness, you can find contentment in somehow bringing an income in for yourself and for others through the business or through Earth Nova or whatever you want to call it. The vibe that I kept getting through the reading was that this is where it's heading, you know, somewhere where you can create income from doing this. So that's why I keep saying business. But yeah, that's exactly it. And you're helping, like you said, others to expand their consciousness and their businesses through doing so. The North Node of the chart is in the ninth house, which is consciousness expansion, which is growth, spiritual growth. And then Cancer energy, which is family, soul family, literally soul family. So you're bringing soul family together and everyone is benefiting from it.
In a nurturing way, a very nurturing way.
And then
Thought I'd throw that in there.
very nurturing.
And I'm
So then-
really, I'm glad, sorry, I'm glad you actually have mentioned it, the name business. Because it has added a different element to the whole thing, and it has also clarified certain things for me, because my other website, synchronistic.co.uk, it's just there, it's not really doing anything, because I've already been thinking of letting that part of myself go once that book is gone, and then take everything into earthnovo.com and start that consciousness, you know, business together with you guys. And then we'll have to find a way of doing that, probably through communities and everyone getting onto that. And we need a proper guy who does the website and, you know, that kind of thing. So exciting.
I'd say that's a very wise decision.
Absolutely.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm just curious, what date did you use? Was it the date that you originally conceived the
No,
Earth Nouveau,
yes.
or was
Well,
it your first broadcast, or?
That was very, when I thought about this, it was instantly, and it was confirmed through the initial conversation we had before we started recording. I did in the beginning in 2020, in the February 20th February 2020, we had the first Earth Nouveau ball, which I wrote the invitation out. And that was 3 years ago, 2 days ago. And that was the date which I used, because that was the most significant one for me. And that's what I sent to Trent and Amanda. And that's what you guys used, right? And
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I used 10 o'clock p.m. This is when the ball started.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
And one other thing I want to say is it was really interesting, because after that ball, I was just, contemplating. I love Art Nouveau. So this is one of my favorite art. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun, if we could do earthnouveau.com, that kind of thing. And I was just like, laughing and thinking, fucking hell, let me check it out. Is it available? And I didn't think for 1 second it was not really available, because, Earth Nouveau is not really it was available. So
That's awesome.
I got it right away. And
It
it was
all
like,
lined up.
creating with ease, in alignment.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Sounds like a sacred synchronicity to me.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So yes, to answer your question, and now I shut up, carry on, guys.
Okay. So I have a couple more notes on the business chart itself. Venus is in Aries in 6th house. So people most enjoy the teachings of spiritual independence and spiritual routine, or healing or ceremony as a daily routine. So topics around health, healing, nutrition, bringing ceremonial work into life as a daily routine is really the heart of this business. And there's a drive for self-healing, self-mastery, self-love, and self-care.
And one of the things that can bring revenue to this business is showing people how to create these ceremonies, how to use these healing modalities on
Absolutely.
themselves, how to pursue mastery. So just a couple ideas for you, Martina.
Mhm.
And
Love
then we
that.
have Venus squaring Jupiter, and Trent said a little bit about that before, but what I have is teachings of stepping into power as one's own spiritual teacher, and the challenges of that lifestyle. So that's something that you can teach, and that the business itself does teach is, what can you do to step into your power, and then what to do when you actually get there, because it is a challenging lifestyle. So the Earth Nouveau is very much about helping people to step into their power, and how to get to that place, and also how to embody that.
That's fabulous, because the book that's coming out, God knows when, will be the business card for that, because it includes pretty much all of that, what you guys have been saying, the entire
Beautiful.
journey from challenge to choice.
I love that.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm
Wow.
gonna get a little into the synastry. Do you have something to say, Amy?
No.
Or
Okay.
anyone?
Keep going.
Questions?
Yeah, before
Question.
I move on, if anyone has a question. I know it's like a lot of information to process. All right, so the synastry is basically the
I
business's
had a
chart.
question, but I didn't want to interrupt your
Oh.
flow
No, go
going here.
ahead.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Alf,
But
right out.
it was kind of earlier, but I was just waiting and waiting. I was like, you know what, fuck it. I just got to ask anyways. But I was curious about your, when you were talking about the planets, I have my own curiosity question. I was curious to see, did you have any like deep communication experience with the planets when you were younger, or something profound that like definitely, I know you're already on the path or whatever, but like, was there something really significant that happened in your life experience wise that you like,
I don't know. I don't know if I can.
I guess mystical, magical experience or whatever with the
Yeah, I don't
planets.
know if I can pin it down to like a single moment. I feel like I was just born very spiritual, and very aware of the fact that there's a higher reality than what we're experiencing. And so I just always felt very called. I don't think it was, working with the planets themselves. It was just my connection to the stars, and to outer space that kind of moved me towards a deeper relationship with astrology. As a child, I had a lot of mystical experiences that kind of pointed me in that direction, with different archetypes, or, you may call them beings, or different, gods and goddesses, or angels, or, different experiences like that kind of continued to move me in that direction. And very much so, when I work with the energies of the planets and the signs, it is almost like working with the archetype or a being itself, in the way that I intuit the information. It's, we already know the planets are sentient beings in and of themselves, so you can directly work with those energies if you choose to. And there is kind of a spiritual conversation, a telepathy that goes on when I'm reading the charts.
Wow, cool. A question off that. Do you do any other kind of healing modalities? Like in
Yeah.
conjunction with this?
Well, we do
Like
healing.
Reiki? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can call it Reiki, but we kind of have, it's more of a
more of a
Reiki dash
psychic
psychic
surgery.
surgery. So,
Um,
we do have we have a coaching package where you do a little bit of everything. We have healing, we do tarot, we do astrology, we do spiritual life coaching, we do relationship coaching. And I guess, I'm very open to building sessions around people's needs. So if someone needs their chart read and needs a little healing here or there, we can definitely accommodate that.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, we kind of do a little bit of everything, and we found a way to kind of bring it all into one through the coaching packages.
Okay. And before you start, what is synastry?
Synastry is a comparison of two different energies, whether it's the business and a person, or two people. It's how those energies interact with each other.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. Go ahead.
So the synastry, and there's also a composite chart, which is very similar. It's the interaction of the energies. So I kind of put this all into one. So Martina, like I said before, was meant to run this business. Her Cancer stellium aligns with the business's North Node, which is the destiny and purpose. So the business itself helps Martina to step fully into her own purpose, helping others to achieve spiritual independence and routines. And this helps her to feel fulfilled in herself. And it helps her to fulfill her mission and her purpose in this lifetime of running a business from home that she leads, that she independently leads. So she is meant to help others embody their spiritual gifts and open their hearts. And this business helps her to do just that. So we have her moon, Martina's moon and vertex conjunct the MC, which is the midhaven of the business chart, which is the legacy. This is how the public sees you. This is, the legacy that you're creating. So it's very fated. I mean, this is all very fated. Martina coming, together with everyone to kind of run this business. She's helping others to heal through her sharing her experience. This is what I've been through. This is what I've learned. And this is the legacy of the business itself, is Martina sharing her experiences of spiritual growth and things that she's been through in her life, and sharing that with people to create this legacy of Earth Nouveau. So we have her series conjunct the ascendant and Juno. So nurturing the business is also nurturing for Martina. So when she puts energy and love into the business, it helps her to kind of nurture herself in its own way. And that's fulfilling for her, as it is also a soul contract for her to clear past life karma. So there's something going on with a past life where Martina had a lot of power and had a lot of control in some respect. And this is helping her to do that, but in more of a way of integrity. Many of us have had past lives where we had a lot of wealth and a lot of power, and that was what we were using the power for, was to create more wealth, to create more power. For Martina in this lifetime, it's not about that. It's about sharing, the experience and sharing the knowledge and the wisdom, and still allowing her to kind of be in a place of independence and power in a way of integrity. Martina's spiritual knowledge and her social ability fuels the business's income. This is Neptune with the part of fortune in the second house that I spoke about. So her Neptune is conjunct the part of fortune in the second house. So that means her spiritual knowledge is helping to fuel the income of the business. Her knowledge of the depths of intimacy, her knowledge of the depths of emotions set the foundation for her business. And it's also helping others she's empowering others via the business, and it's helping her to heal her own wounds around communication, around self-expression. So, working in the business and with the business is helping Martina to empower herself. The Chiron of the business is conjunct the Chiron, or Martina's Chiron itself. So there's a lot of wounds being healed, and there's a lot of powerful healing energy coming from Martina going into the business, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So Martina's devotion to self-mastery helps the business to thrive. Also, her devotion to her soul family helps the business to thrive. This is Saturn conjunct Vesta in the fourth house. That's Martina, Saturn, and Vesta conjunct the descendant of the business. And then we have the sun of the business trine Martina's sun and Mars by quintile Martina's moon. Martina and the business are very aligned. Okay, this is all very aligned. It's also a lesson for Martina in being a healer and spiritual teacher, balancing her life and independence with the demands of the business. This is the opposition to Jupiter and Martina's chart. The business expands Martina's perspective and her multidimensionality. The business is at times challenging to her emotions. So there can be some frustration or overwhelm or emotional imbalance that comes up, but this is all for Martina's benefit, for her own emotional mastery and self-mastery, and learning to kind of trust and flow in the moment, and just be and trust that everything's moving forward how it should. This is because there was an opposition between the moon and Pluto. We also have Chiron squaring Martina's sun, Venus, and Mars. So the business pushes Martina to face and overcome her fears and insecurities, and putting herself out there and communicating with people and sharing her experiences and her stories. Okay, so that is the synastry. If you have any questions, Martina, about that, or anyone else.
That's me, Martina.
Yeah.
Like Martina, I haven't heard Martina so many times. Jesus. Perfect. Love it.
Yeah.
But that's exactly how I feel. And I feel I am not necessarily, this is my purpose. So everything else is not necessarily important to me.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that the relationship, this is my relationship. I have other
Right.
relationships, but and that's why it has become so much easier for me to have no more relationship conflicts when they're not, because it's okay. Whatever it is okay.
Right.
Because my focus is consciousness evolution.
Exactly. And then that's teaching you about trust and flow, and that everything's, coming in for you and aligning for you. This is all very extremely aligned for you. I'm going to move into the composite. So we have Venus in 7th house conjunct the North Node in Taurus, which means Venus is at home in Taurus. This is Venus's home sign. So the business helps Martina to expand her relationships and her connection with others, which is part of the purpose of the business and as a part of her life. So it's helping her to expand and heal her own self-worth and helping others to heal theirs. Okay. So the business is meant to help her to empower herself emotionally and in her routines, her work routines, and to empower herself and others in their healing abilities. Okay, so you're creating a lasting legacy and foundation for your life through the business. More devotion to your own healing for the sake of the business, to your own learning and expansion for the sake of the business. So this was the Sun, Mercury, and Moon conjunct Lilith and Vesta. Then we have mastering having a spiritual business at home, which is a huge part of what you chose to do in this lifetime. It expands your mind and perspective. It helps you to step into a role as a spiritual teacher, bringing ancient knowledge and future wisdom to light. This is Saturn. This is a grand trine in the chart. So we have a trine between Saturn in the 4th, Uranus in the 8th, and Jupiter in the 12th, which are all very multidimensional, high frequency energies. So this grand water trine, you're stepping into this role as a spiritual teacher. It's a big part of what you're supposed to be doing, is sharing this ancient knowledge that you have and the future wisdom that you're sharing with others. We have the asteroid Pallas Athena on the ascendant with Pluto as well. So together, yourself and the business has a powerful impact on humanity. It's teaching you leadership. It's teaching you strategy while clearing past life karma, which I said, around power, leadership, and integrity. Then we have Neptune in the 2nd, sextile Pallas and Pluto. So you're able to intuit ways to bring in money through pattern recognition. So that is the comparison between Martina and the business. And then we have Martina's chart itself, if you're willing for us to share it. Trent also did some notes on this one as well.
Yeah, I'm happy if you guys not bored with it. Yeah, I'm happy, yeah.
Cool. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, give your voice a break.
Yeah, please. I'm going to listen to my voice. Thank you.
Okay, so this is your chart, Martina. So we have the part of fortune in the first, and it's trining Jupiter in the 8th and 9th house. There's a cusp. So your part of fortune is in the first house. So that means you're really happiest when you're able to be yourself. Because it's in Capricorn, you enjoy being the one in charge. Taking care.
Myself, yeah. Bishop, no.
Oh yeah.
And so you like taking care of the things that need done, especially business wise. It being trying to the cusp of 8th and 9th house means that happiness comes easy when you're talking about things that help transform you and help transform other people. It
Yep.
means that you love exploring different ideas that bring new awareness and perspective into play. Jupiter being there means you already have wisdom of both of those fields, so it comes natural to you. Basically, you're a woman that's about business, and that business is about expansion.
Yay.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, we all agree.
It's about time we make fucking money with this, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So the next
Let's do it.
aspect I have is Chiron in the third. It's in Aries, and it's squaring your part of fortune in the first. So there are wounds around speaking from the past, whether that be speaking your truth or being heard and understood by other people. This is due to not only the past, during things in your childhood, but in your ancestral line as well. This has caused you to be hurt and oftentimes be angry. Because Chiron is the wounded healer, this pain is also your superpower. You've turned this pain into passion. It's in your third house. So by you speaking up, by you speaking out and voicing your truth, you're healing these wounds. Your pain is not only helping you, it's helping other people. Just by talking about them, just by sharing your experience and what you went through,
That very
and
much.
how you've overcame them.
Cool. Is it okay if I just throw in something?
Of
Yes,
course.
please.
Okay, so this is also part of the reason why I opted to trigger the walk-in, because I had to get out of the lineage.
Right.
I had to break away from the ancestral lineage
Mhm.
because of all what you've just said.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of what you're doing now is clearing that line. So that is fucking awesome.
Yes.
We're super proud of you for that.
I got
Thank you.
chills.
I'm proud of myself. Yes,
Yes.
it's a lot of work, guys, but you all
Yeah.
know that because we're all
Yeah.
doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I was a little iffy about saying that because it is kind of personal, but I'm glad that you was able to receive that.
No, I thought, yeah, I mean, this is my journey, this is lots of absolutely, you're right. The expression, it's always been stuck in my throat. I had lots and lots of issues with expressing ourselves. This is why, recording our voices and things like that, even coming on to shows in the beginning, all of that, we need to start expressing our voice because, pretty much every single one on this call has been decapitated
Yes.
for, you said, Amanda, for their fucking powers that we had and had
Yes.
before. And it's time to
Yes.
reclaim it. What?
Yes.
And that's exactly what you're doing. That's what we're
Yes.
all doing here.
Absolutely.
I love how you
So-
said turn the pain into passion. I don't know, something about that.
Yes.
Well, I
That's
got,
one of my key phrases too.
oh, I love that. I love that. Go ahead.
So you have Eris in the fourth. It's in Aries and it's trying your Sagittarius AC. So Eris is the feminine aspect of Mars. It's also in the sign of Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. So that together creates even more drive towards empowering the feminine. Because it trines your AC, a big part of your personality and how people view you is exactly that. An empowered woman that empowers other women.
Mhm.
Good to
So
hear.
you have a fourth house. What was that?
Oh, that's good to know.
So you have a fourth house north node. Your north node is in your fourth house. Fourth house is about stability. It's about family, and it's about the home. A big part of your purpose is creating that stability in the home and from the home. How you create stability is by what I previously mentioned, which is working with women. It's about working with others. It's about pursuing the drive you have towards your purpose. And it's about communicating, which I'll discuss in the next aspect, which is Vesta conjunct Saturn in the fourth sextile Mercury. Vesta is all about devotion. It's about consistency. Saturn is about restriction, but it's also about mastery. So in the past, there was restriction to you staying devoted to your passions and purpose. Mercury being sextile to this conjunction has made life a lot easier for you. That is when you're using your voice, when you're doing things of Mercury, which is communication. Communicating itself has turned a lot of things that it used to restrict you into things that you've mastered. It being in the seventh house means this mastery comes a lot easier when you have a joyful spirit, when you're being playful, when you're having fun with what you're doing, things flow a lot easier for you and for what you're doing. So you have Mercury trine Sirius in the 10th house. We know that Mercury is about communication. Sirius is about nurturing yourself. It being in the 10th house means a lot of the nurturing goes into the business. Because it's in the sign of Libra, means balance is in favor. Balance is a factor that helps you. So taking more time to yourself for self-love, self-care, and self-nurturing, that will ensure you have the time off you need that will equate to you having more to speak about. It will leave you feeling fresh and renewed for when you do return to the business, which will create a stronger business, a stronger you, and that'll create more stability for the both of you.
Beautiful,
it.
baby.
Thank you.
Love it. Very cool. And you know, it hits exactly. I've just been looking at the values for action.
Yeah.
I've just been looking at the values for action because this is coming in very strongly now, that working on action, because I
Yes.
work a lot from my soul perspective.
Right.
And this is
Yeah.
now with the energies that are coming in. I think, you know, we're all being invited to really, you know, acknowledge how much time we actually spend on a soul level rather than here.
Yes.
And I think some of that action, has to be put towards our self-care and self-love and self-nurturing and just time off. Sometimes the work is taking the time off. Sometimes the work is not the work itself. Sometimes the discipline is actually being disciplined enough to not do anything.
Right.
Like sometimes that's the hard part, not the work. But you doing more of these things for yourself is going to pay off for you and for the business.
Yeah. And I love that you said that about action, because your North Node is in Aries. And Aries is action. So that's what you're moving toward. You're very deeply intuitive. You kind of just flow with things and allow your intuition to guide you. When you take action, you're stepping into your highest version of self, your highest potential. So I love that you brought that up. Okay, so I'll read what I have. So first thing that came up was your Cancer stellium. You have your Sun, Venus, Mars, and your Moon all in Cancer. So you have that deeply mothering, deeply emotional energy. You're deeply intuitive, and you're deeply sensitive to the energies around you. You can easily take on others' energy or the energy of the situation you're in. So it's very important to work on shielding and protecting your energy. Your moon is in the 8th house and it's square Saturn. There's a lot of karma around your emotional experience. You've experienced a lot of loss and pain in your life. You go through these cycles of just feeling like you have to survive. This is connected to your ancestral karma, like you said. You have a Sagittarius rising. So you managed to stay optimistic through everything. You try to make the best out of everything. Despite the depth of your emotions, you know, you're always willing to put on a happy face and do what you need to do through that. You are a natural spiritual teacher and leader. You understand the depths of the depths of the shadows, the depths of the human psyche, and the depths of life itself. And you're also, you understand the multidimensional nature of reality naturally, and the nature of the expansion. Reality is always expanding. Okay, this is who you are. This is what you understand naturally. Your Jupiter is on the cusp of 8th and 9th house. Usually I would read that in 9th house. So that's why I mentioned expansion and philosophy. You know, the expansion of consciousness is something that's a big part of who you are in this lifetime. The conjunction with your sun and Venus and Mars, you are highly passionate, you are highly driven, you are responsible, you have tremendous willpower. You consider the people that you love to be family to you. This is the Cancer energy in 7th house. So your soul family means a lot to you. You have a very motherly, nurturing vibe about you. You're also very social. Okay, you have a lot of friends. You love to connect with people. That's your descendant in Gemini. Your Mercury is sextile Saturn and square Uranus and Pluto, and also sextile Neptune. So you're highly intelligent, highly intuitive, revolutionary, and deep. You have very deep thoughts, and you can easily pick up the energy of others as well. So you can easily read other people. That comes to you naturally. Mercury is squaring Pluto. So in this lifetime, oh, and also Uranus. So this is the revolutionary energy, Uranus and Pluto. In this lifetime, you're overcoming negative thinking and thought patterns. That's a big one for you. You can be taken to the depths of paranoia if you're not careful. This is a huge thing that you're healing in this lifetime. Also around trying to control. That's a big one for you as well. So you're clearing that. That's your ancestral line as well. And you can have difficulties expressing your emotions at times because of this Saturn square to your moon. So you're deeply emotional, but you don't really want to share that if you don't have to. So you're learning, you know, now, and this is what you've been learning is how to go through honoring your emotional process and allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel and be able to release that in healthy ways. You are the happiest when you are building something for yourself, some kind of foundation that brings you independence so that you can share it with those that you love. This is your part of fortune in the 1st house in Capricorn. I know Trent mentioned that as well. You also have Chiron squaring your Aries IC. So this is saying that, you know, your childhood Chiron is squaring the sun, Venus, and Mars. So what this is saying is your childhood was difficult. There are deep wounds around your mother and your father. You're clearing pain and trauma from your ancestral lineage. There's a lot of lack, mind state, poverty that you're clearing from your lineage. Difficulty expressing your independence is something that you're overcoming. You learn to make your own family. You know, your soul family is your family. You're clearing that from, you know, that energy of having to kind of put your family first. You're learning to be independent in your own energy and separate yourself from that. You were very independent as a child, very feisty child. And
very bruised, many blue bruises, I'll tell you that. All over the body.
Yes, very active, you know, getting out and just doing things, probably a lot of impulsive things that you were doing. But as a child, Chiron in 3rd house near the IC, it was, like Trent said, it was difficult to express your needs. There's wounds around feeling heard, especially by your family and your siblings and the people in your community. So you're learning to create your own foundation for your life. You're leading your own life. You're creating your own family. This is your purpose, stepping fully into your power, clearing the ancestral karma, and allows you to thrive from home. a thriving business from home while supporting the future and past generations of your bloodline. So through your healing, you're supporting the future generations as well as the past generations of your bloodline, which we are all doing in our own way. You find self-empowerment through healing yourself, taking good care of your body, exercise, nutrition, holistic remedies like herbs and, using crystals and stuff like that is really big for you. And also bringing that stuff into the business is going to be very important as well. So maybe having a show about crystals or about herbs and the different medicinal properties of them would be something great that you could do. But Spirit wants you to just be really good to your body. Be really good to your body. Be patient with yourself and with your body. And you're going to be teaching others to do the same. So your Cancer moon is squaring Ceres and Juno in the chart. So relationships can be difficult for you, especially personal ones, especially through your childhood and adolescence years. Long-term commitments can be especially difficult for you. It's like it's hard to find people that are on your level. And it's like you never really feel emotionally fulfilled. It's really about connecting with soul family to find that emotional fulfillment. As you continue to raise your frequency, you're going to call in the people into your life that are meant to be in your life. It's hard. May still be difficult to find the emotional support and security that you truly need, being such a deep person, being such an emotional and sensitive person. So, when you're out of alignment, it creates these difficulties in your relationship. So like Trent said before, your own needs, always put yourself first. This is most important, self-love, self-care. This is what's most important for you because you do have a North Node in Aries house, just like I do. So putting yourself first and not people pleasing and doing things for you that make you feel empowered is what's most important for you in this lifetime. You're creating your own roots in your own family. Okay, so you're like, you're the leader of this family that you're creating. It's a soul family that you're creating and leading in a way. And that's what your purpose is in this lifetime.
Thank you. And you know what? I'm fully receiving this in front of people because I'm not a big fan of, having my stories, even in the book, I'm not really interested in writing stories because, I outcreate it so quickly. But everything that has been said under my name here now is what this group is actually all about. So this is every single thing you've said is really applicable to what we're doing in this place here. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And I can speak as an example that whatever you have been through, you can fucking outcreate it.
Yes.
Smile on your face and never ever get hung up about your biological family because the worse it was, the better it is for you now, because in the energy that we're going in now, this is all about group soul consciousness. So we are here to not get hung up on biological families because we're here to create our new soul families.
Yeah.
I mean, new, yeah. It's not new, but bringing them all together. And you know what? I can only again speak from, and I have a beautiful relationship with all my biological family now because I've so outcreated everything. Right. Shit, what was I gonna say? No, it's gone.
Yeah,
it's coming back.
Yeah, I will.
The group soul consciousness you were talking about.
You are the group soul consciousness, yes. Biological family, have a good one now. Yeah,
I'll create it. Yeah,
I'll create it. No, it's really important, I think, limitation. It's actually, I'm so grateful what I have. And, obviously I'm no longer living, in Austria, I'm living in the UK now. And, I lived in other countries. And, as I said, I had to really break the lineage. And it's not that, as I said, I still talk to them. I love them. I truly, truly love them. But I had to do that self-love, Amanda, what you were talking about. It was for me to leave.
Yes.
and go on to my own little journey or big journey or whatever you want to call it. And shit's gone again. This family thing still no, don't say that. Don't say that. No, I am saying it, people. I am saying it. What was it? You see,
You had to put yourself first.
Yes.
you have to put yourself first. Yes, that too. They can become a distraction.
Mhm.
Do not allow the biological family, inclusive your children. And that's not a nasty thing to say, because we're using them as it's our thing. We're using them as a distraction because it's perfectly acceptable socially to hide behind them. Oh, I need to do something for the family, or I need to do this, or I need to do this. Relationships are the perfect hiding place to not bring forth our potential. And we have to outcreate, we have to recreate, we have to completely redefine relationship in the context of the new energies of that consciousness, exploration, revolution.
Right.
Everything, love, passion, even passion is still an ego value. Yeah.
Yeah, intimacy as well.
Just add that there's something behind. If you break through passion, you realize there's something much fucking deeper behind it.
Yes.
It's
Connection.
fascinating. It's fascinating. I'm really grateful. Thanks very much for taking the time and coming
You're
on.
welcome.
You've got a lot.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm also, before I give pass on to Amy again, I just want to say, you know, I read your thingies on Facebook, you know, your updates. I mean, it's great. It's absolutely great, guys. And, you know, just always pick what works for you and leave the rest. And even if you can't understand it, because it is the jargon, this astrological jargon is very highly sophisticated. And I don't understand half of it. But just read it and get the energy of it at times. Don't get hung up on the words, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martina.
Wow. I think our next topic could be redefine relationships,
It's a good one.
It is a good
right? It's a good topic next week. Oh, awesome. Thank you guys so much. Anybody
thank
else have any
you.
questions? I think you were spot on with Martina and this group too. Spot
Awesome.
on.
I'm so
that
glad
was cool to
everyone
hear.
resonated.
Yeah, wasn't it, Alfredo? Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, it was awesome.
one.
Yeah,
Know more
I
about
just-
Martina, understand her more, you know.
Thank
I like
you.
it.
Well, you know, it's
So yeah,
funny.
thank all y'all.
Yeah, it's like I'm thinking when you're reading about Martina, I'm like, wow, why do I know her so well? You know, like, and it is this business, we'll call it the business. It is just being here every week, and that's how you get to know people,
Mhm.
is having the exchange between each other. Like, I know I've grown since the beginning I've been on. So it's amazing. You were spot on about the business, but it's because Martina's part of our soul family. She's in our soul family. It's not the
Absolutely.
biological family. It's that's why we know each other so well.
It's that
Yes.
old familiarity that it's hard to describe, but you just know and feel. That's
Mhm.
soul family.
And
Yeah,
with
that's-
Cancer energy, you know, the family is so important to Cancer energy. I have a Cancer moon myself, and it can be a very difficult place in the Cancer energy's life. There can be a lot of turmoil and like we said, ancestral karma to clear. So I resonate with that deeply, and that's why connecting with the soul family is so important for myself, for Martina, and for all of us, you know, to have that familial energy without, you know, kind of being stuck in those karmic cycles of the biological family.
Exactly. This is the non-karmic show.
No
I
karmic.
wish,
I
but
wish, but
the other thing as well is just being in the energy of each other. It's like you don't even have to open your mouth. You don't even have to understand one single word we're saying. It's that level of beingness that we're looking at. Yes, we're talking about action. Action is required, but action has nothing to do. Action is not the opposite of being. I'm just looking at that at the moment. That's something we need to look at actually once, because that's really exciting. Action is not the opposite of being. Action is, well, anyway, we'll talk about this another time.
yeah.
sometimes action is just simply being.
Being in the moment. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've learned a lot from everybody on this show. I've had triggers. I've had a lot of things that healed. It is a healing show, even when you don't realize it. Like, it's amazing. But I do want to ask, you said about, I don't know if it was Martina or the show, but it was about the power of the women. You empower women. And I'm like, is that why men aren't coming on? Is that why? No, I'm just making a funny because
I don't know.
Alfredo and Sean have been,
Come on, here, come on.
I know, you two have been loyal.
I see that a lot in the spiritual
Like a
community, though.
dog.
It's like so many women, and just I think the men are really starting to finally step into
Yeah.
their power and do the spiritual work and the inner work. So, I think that as the business grows, as we all grow, more men will be attracted and come in.
Yeah.
But I see that a lot in the spiritual community. There's so many women.
There is so many women, but the men are stepping up. They
Yes.
are stepping up. And they're
No, I
doing
love
what
it.
they're supposed to.
I
I
also
see it every day.
I'd like to add something to that, because when you said that doesn't necessarily resonate for me on a normal women male gender separation basis. But what does definitely resonate is that I think, and this is again comes from my own healing process and journey, that I had to actually really transmute my male qualities to allow my female qualities to step forward. So, it doesn't really matter male or female on our show.
Right.
We're really addressing the female energy here within
Exactly.
all each other,
I was
and
just making a funny.
no, yeah.
I just saw
Got a
that.
little too deep.
I got a little too like,
No, but
"Ooh,
I'm glad you mentioned it, because that's an important point.
yeah, yeah,
That's an important point, isn't it?
yeah, we have both. We have both the energy. So yeah.
Sean watching toxic feminine videos.
Dude, they're so funny. They're ripping apart everything and just taking the piss out of it all.
Yeah.
What are you watching? Toxic femininity.
It just started with like female gym influencers. It's just like you got these female gym influencers that set up their camera, and then they kind of make TikToks about, gym creep one, just any person who just glances over them. They'll just you make this video and it's like, who is the creep?
Who's the
Right.
creep?
Right. Who's the
Making this
really?
video, it's the people taking the piss right out of it, and it's so much
Oh
fun.
my gosh, that's great.
I think it's spot on, though, because I think the feminine energy qualities have become so toxic over the last couple of centuries, really, because of the indoctrination of the female energy,
Mhm.
and then as we have become bitches, as you say, from a female perspective, because we had to start empowering ourselves. And from the empowerment perspective, then, we have actually dominated the male within ourselves.
Total
and
domination.
reflected out. And no, but I also think the male energy has been completely misrepresented
Yes.
for that perspective, right? So they have to be the tough ones, they have to be the bosses, they have to be, no, they are sweet, they have that sweetness. The male energy is that sweetness, that support, that, what you want to do, babes, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
They need loved
security,
and
that
to feel
stability.
safe and,
Protection.
cuddled. They need all that stuff.
Mhm.
Just like women. We all have the feminine and masculine aspects that we embody inside ourselves. We all have those qualities. We have both, and it's about balancing both.
Absolutely. Because you have that empowerment of, I've had that. I mean, I was like through my levels, it was pure survival. Through the survival instinct, I had to overshadow my feminine qualities because they were not appreciated. They were, beaten out of me, basically. So I had to be, and that's why I worked in the oil industry for 20 years. I mean, how much more male can it get in there?
That's tough ass job, man. That is a tough ass
100%.
job.
And then from there, you attract partners into your life that they like a strong female, right? they like, because it's like, oh, you're my mom. I'm like, no, I'm not your fucking mother.
Yes.
I want you to be my father. That I never. For God's sake, man.
Yes, they've created so much imbalance in each individual, each of us, that when we come together, it creates more imbalance. So when we find a balance in ourselves, we can attract somebody that'll, match that balance with us,
Yeah,
and
it's
we
like
can
that.
be balanced together,
Yeah.
I really feel that like that Amber Heard trial and Johnny Depp, it's just totally, it's making waves now.
Yeah.
Like months
Bullshit
later.
propaganda.
That was a beautiful, beautiful example that's come through now to wake up the people,
Mhm.
wake up this consciousness, if they were able to choose to get the message.
Right.
Beautiful example, yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
And
Marissa had a question.
sorry, I shut up.
Okay, so best ways to outcreate. Best ways to outcreate. I'm not sure what she wants us to outcreate.
Well,
Well,
some of the best ways to
then
outcreate is to not be
Revocation.
stuck in the patterns that we're already creating with. So part of that is creating new patterns and being comfortable with what's uncomfortable, because even though we're in these patterns that we already know, even if they suck, we still do them because they're familiar to us,
Mhm.
because they're easy to do because we already know them. So it's about getting uncomfortable. It's about doing the unknown. It's about creating new patterns that turn to behaviors that produce results in our life.
right. And holding that higher perspective, seeing yourself for what's really going on, being able to recognize those patterns and shift your energy out of that. You stop and say, okay, I have these negative thoughts going through my head. What can I do to shift this and change this? What can I think about or focus on that's going to help me shift out of this so that I can do something differently?
Yeah, it's also about getting yourself out of your own perspective, because when you see things from only your perspective, what you have is very limited understanding. Whenever you can see things from multiple perspectives, you have multiple understanding, you have higher awareness, and
Mhm.
that gets you out of feeling trapped and feeling like a victim. It's also about feeling through what you went through, because
Right.
yes, you can have higher perspective, but you have to feel your shit
Yeah,
first.
you got to allow
You
yourself
cannot
to
skip the
release it.
emotional process. You have to get through it and then get out of it.
Mhm.
Right.
Feel it and heal it.
It's about holding
Feel
that
it.
higher perspective as
Yeah.
you're going through that process. As you're feeling it, you're like, I'm releasing this. I'm giving it to God. I'm giving it to the universe. You're not just in a place of, oh, why me? The universe hates me. God hates me. I mess up all the time. That's how you continue to cycle in these patterns. You got to catch yourself in that moment and say, you know what? I'm going to let this go. I'm going to scream it out. I'm going to cry it out, whatever I have to do to release this and move on. And the next time that it comes up, it's not so intense. And eventually you'll get to a point where it doesn't even bother you anymore. The trigger has been released.
And also about feeling through things with intentions, because crying is one thing, but whenever you set the intention, like, I'm crying this shit out, I'm releasing it. Whenever you're feeling with intention versus just feeling, there's a big difference. You'll have monumental changes.
Absolutely beautifully
Yeah.
said. And then I would also like to add to this, in order to balance the feeling and emotional side, is you got to bring the intellectual side in. And
Absolutely.
don't misinterpret intellect with academia. It's got fuck all to do with this. Intellect is the power of choice. And understanding is, I think, Trent, you said awareness, understanding the bigger picture. The best way of out creation, at least for me, has been to understand the next layer of my soul's journey. Because that intentionally takes you out of all the little low frequency emotional blah blah down there, because all of a sudden you got something, not up there, but whatever, you got something to look forward to actually progress. And the good thing is, you'll never get bored with that.
Yes.
because
Absolutely.
it'll never be complete, right? And this is like, whoa, that's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Constantly creating new patterns.
Exactly. Once
Yep.
you reach the sea of consciousness, you're like, oh, fuck, sea of consciousness. Ocean of awareness. Whoa, yeah. Oh, void space. Right. What's beyond the bloody void space now?
Yes.
Unlimited possibilities.
I love it.
What's in that 18th universe?
No, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. We can skip that part. We've done enough lessons learned, I think. Enough lessons learned? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drink a lot of water, guys.
Exactly.
40 grams
Wow.
of protein.
Very auspicious day today, Amanda. Isn't there a lot going on today, particularly?
222.
Yeah, we had 222. It's a master day, and we just had the Pisces new moon 2 days ago. So the energy for a couple of days was very fluid, very emotional. We were moving into the depths. You know, there was a lot coming up emotionally that we were releasing. I think the moon has moved into Aries now, so things are kind of lightening up. I'll check
And
real
like you
quick.
said, Martina, about action, you know, the wintertime, it's a lot about reflection. It's a lot about introspection. You know, just as the cycles of the earth go, you know, there are a lot about the cycles that we have inside. So a lot of that time was about going inside and planting the seeds inside. So when we come to this Aries season, when we come to this action season, we
Mhm,
have things of fruit to plant.
exactly.
You know, we can have things to grow. As the things grow inward, we can start to grow those things outward.
Yes, we had
Yeah.
the moon and Venus move into Aries, which were in Pisces for a long time. So the energy is definitely going to lighten up. You may feel, you know, a lot of stagnation and blockages. Things are really going to start to move forward now. We do have Saturn creeping up on the sun. So this is big self-mastery energy. So we still have some karmic lessons to work through, some challenges, but you know, once the Saturn passes the sun, and Saturn's going to cause some disruption in Pisces. I mean, this is a very karmic energy. We're all going to be really digging into our subconsciouses and figuring out, you know, what needs cleared and what's holding us back on that level. So
And the key is anything that's restricting you, focus on that,
right.
because that's what you'll be turning into mastery.
And then we have Mercury in Aquarius right now, which is helping us all to kind of hold that higher perspective and kind of understand things more fluidly, easily on a multi-dimensional level, on a collective level. So that's very helpful right now as well. We're going to have the North Node moving into Aries soon as well. It's in Taurus right now. So in a couple months here, we're going to have it moving into Aries. So there's going to be a lot of energy around taking action, making things happen, you know, leadership. There's not going to be any more like, you know, being bogged down by that emotional energy or feeling stagnant or stuck. You know, the North Node is in Taurus right now. So there's a lot of that stubborn energy that we're clearing out. There's going to be a lot more forward motion moving in for us very soon.
Yes.
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 Finally.
We need it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like resolutions too. I don't know if you said that. A lot of resolving things. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pisces, there's a lot of resolution in that energy. We're going deep. We're going deep on a subconscious level. So anything that's kind of standing in our way, we're going to have to see it. And we're going to have to see it without the rose-colored glasses on.
Yeah. We can't go
Saturn
around
is
it.
not going to allow it. Saturn's taking the glasses right off and saying, look at it.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deal with it.
More fun to be had. Yay.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Does anyone else have any questions?
How'd this work, Sean, with your Chinese medicine?
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's so there's hundreds of years where they did Chinese medicine based off astrology,
Yeah.
or astronomy, or astrology. I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's all the perceptions overlap.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. I really got an education today. I love it.
We did.
Good. I'm so glad.
I love it. Thank you guys for coming on.
You're very
Really
welcome.
Well, thank you for
appreciate it.
having us.
Yes, thank you guys for having us on.
Yes, thank you.
And we
Thank
hope
you.
to do it again sometimes. Keep in touch with us, guys.
Yes,
Yes.
for sure.
Excellent.
I mean,
And
you
I'll
can
be-
always pop on if ever you have a time. I know you're busy bees, but if ever you have time, we wanna, join us. And we are quite, isn't it, Amy? Well, we just,
Yeah.
we don't really, and also, yeah, we don't have other people coming, once you're in, and then you can,
Right.
raise your hand or not, just
Yeah.
if you got something to
This
say.
is basically.
Awesome.
Earthy said, where can she reach you for a reading? Where can anybody reach you? I
I think
almost forgot that.
Trent is typing it in. Our
Okay.
website is ourlittlemagicshop.com. Magic is spelled with a CK. So ourlittlemagicshop with a CK.com. We have all of our services on there. All of the other things that we sell. We sell like herbs and jewelry with intention. Okay, so we
Mhm.
make little jewelry that has specific intentions put into it with herbs and crystals. We have astrology necklaces, actually,
Ooh.
one for every sign. We sell crystal bracelets. We have tinctures, a reishi tincture on there, a bunch of awesome stuff on there. So you guys are welcome to come check us out.
Oh, that might be a cool show to come in and talk about the herbs and the
love
tinctures and what to
that.
use them for. Oh, okay. Okay, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch again.
Awesome.
Oh, that just like, woo, okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And we will
Yes,
see you
thank you for
again.
having us. We will pop on sometime.
Yes.
Wednesday.
Yeah. Yes, hop on.
Thank you very much. And I'm gonna put the recording. Thanks, Amy, for hosting today.
You're welcome. You're
And
welcome.
I'm gonna put the recording on. Yes, I'll have to. Yeah, all right. Anyway, we'll sort that out. And if you guys want the recording separately, I can send it to you via WeTransfer, some shit like that. If you want to put it onto your own thing as well. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Cool.
Okay.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for everyone
much,
coming
eh?
on
Yes,
today too.
thank you guys so much.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Great
Good
job,
Talk to you
y'all.
all soon.
Love you.
Thanks, everyone. Love you.
Love you guys. Bye.